TCI is brought to you by Unbridled Song, sire of 14 Grade 1 winners, including 2012 Forgo winner MC.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. This is the show we've been waiting for. This is the day you're going to get the TCI picks for the Thoroughbred World Championship. Joel, we have 15 races to go over. So today, I'm going to put you on the clock, and we're going to start on Friday's card in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint. Tell me who you like and why.
I think Bob Baffert, who has a lot of activity this weekend, he gets on the board right off the bat with Super 99, John. I was really impressed with his maiden win. You know, he looks like a sprinter when you watch him travel, and that top and bottom, he has brilliance on both sides of his pedigree, and he's working well into this race. That gives me the indication that he's going to actually move forward. He was really green, swapping over into his wrong leads in that debut. I think he's going to move forward. He's giving an indication that he will. Bob Baffert gets on the board early with Super 99.
All right, let's move to the next race, which is the Marathon, Joel. It's not the most exciting race in the world, but I'll tell you what, it really is gaining in importance in the Breeders' Cup.
Well, it's exciting for time run. This race is going to seem like it's going to take an hour for the horses to get around the track a couple times. However, this race, you know, typically when I try to handicap a race like this, it's like the Belmont Stakes, John. A mile and a half, this is a mile and 3/4. These horses don't travel this far. This will be one of the first times probably most of the field has gone this far, John. So I really like to look at the Tomlinson. Who is bred to hold up going that distance? And for me, the top horse, when you look at that 440 Tomlinson number, Scott towers over the field, and that's Kaleidoscopia, a horse from Argentina that's made $500,000, and he has some good form.
All right, let's move now to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. There's a lot of good horses in here this year.
There really is, and with the Euros, you really don't know what you're getting. However, the Euros are used to not running with Lasix, John, so it'll be interesting to see, even though I don't think the turf course is going to play to their liking this weekend necessarily compared to what they're used to, you know, overseas. However, they don't need the Lasix, so there's no edge for the Americans here. Most of these horses are coming off of Lasix. I wonder if that's going to be a big issue. I've liked Spring Venture from the start, and I'm going to stick with her. I think she's a brilliant filly. She's going to love a two-turn mile, and she's coming in this race the right way. However, she comes off of Lasix, so it does concern me.
All right, let's move now to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Again, a high-class field running in here.
Yeah, absolutely, John. I really thought, you know, all along the last month, you know, especially now that we're going to get plenty of speed with Beholder on the rail, Quai Katie on the outside, there's going to be a ton of speed in this race. And I think it sets up perfectly for the two front runners in this race all along, Executive Privilege and Dreaming of Julia. I'm going to go with Dreaming of Julia, who I think is going to get an outside type of trip. Is going to be able to stay more in the clear, and I know she's going to like two turns. And Executive Privilege, some people question whether or not she's going the other direction. I like Dreaming of Julia's upside, so I think she's going to get the nod.
All right, you've been on Executive Privilege all year. You're switching now. Okay, let's go now to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. I know you've liked Marketing Mix. You staying on her?
I'm staying on Marketing Mix. You know, reluctantly, because I think the Fugue is ultra talented. John has great form, likes a firm type going for a European. So I think she's going to be really tough at that 1.25 mile distance. However, I love Marketing Mix's prep. I love the way they've really tuned her up the last couple weeks with good works coming into this race. So a slight upset here. I'm going to go with Marketing Mix, you know, maybe getting the jump over the Fugue in the stretch.
All right, and then the marquee race that we have on Friday is the Ladies Classic. This race got a whole lot more exciting with Royal Delta in here. Who you going with?
You know, Royal Delta I think is going to be formidable, John, but the way to beat her, I think, is to get a jump on her over a track that could be playing speed all weekend. And actually, it's been playing speed all meet. So I'm going with a brilliant filly in here. Her name is Questing. I really think she could get out on the front end here, John. And if she runs back to her Alabama performance, I think it could be tough for Royal Delta to catch her.
All right, now we're going to move to Saturday's card, Joel. And the first race that we see on there each year is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. It's another 2-year-old race. Tell me, who do you like?
You know, John, I'm going Europeans in here. I really don't care for many of the North American horses in here. I think Noble Tune has a future, but he comes from way out of it. You know, so when I look at, you know, the real class from Europe coming over, I look at, you know, horses like Artigiano coming over for Godolphin. He has a good North American pedigree, should like our style of racing. And same with George Vancouver, who actually will be my pick in the race, John. I think they're bringing him over. You know, they stand his sire over here, Henry the Navigator, a horse that they would love to win $1 million purse for, and maybe try to get freshman championship honors. So with that angle, I like George Vancouver.
All right, now we have a filly race on Saturday's card. It is the Filly and Mare Sprint. Tell me, who do you like in this race?
You know, in the Filly Mare Sprint, I really was interested to see where Contested ended up in this field. Well, she didn't enter into the race, John. So to me, that leaves Lone Speed with Dust and Diamonds. I think Dust and Diamonds is the only filly that can beat Groupie Doll in this race. Now that Contested is not in here. However, I don't like her quite as well as I did Contested. So for me, Groupie Doll has really, shown no reason for me to think she's not going to fire her best race. And I even think an A- race from her can get the job done in here. She has enough tactical speed at 7 furlongs. I like Groupie Doll.
All right, let's move now to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Joel, we see last year's champion in here, Amazombi. Do you think he gets it done?
Yeah, Amazombi is a colt that, certainly his last performance, he was going to be one of the short price favorites going into the sprint, John. But after that last performance, certainly makes him look vulnerable in this race. Now, they say he's doing well.
Right.
And if he's in his A game, I think he wins this race. But if he's not, if you believe his last performance and you think he's vulnerable, I think it opens it up. I'm going with Triniberg in here, John.
Wow.
I think he's a 3-year-old that has that high cruising speed, can kind of have that outside speed to get the position he needs and still finish off of that. If Triniberg can run back to a couple of his better performances, I like him.
All right, let's go to the turf sprint now. We see Bridgetown and a lot of other good horses in here. Who do you like?
I'm going with Bridgetown. I think this race is wide open. It's almost like the marathon. I mean, you're going to get a full field in here. It's an awkward type of trip for a lot of turf sprinters going 6.5 down the hill. Most of these turf sprinters are 5.5 furlong specialists, completely on the flats. Bridgetown's a colt that I know likes that course, again, off his runner-up performance in the Breeders' Cup juvenile turf a couple years ago at Santa Anita. Down the hill worries me a little bit, but I like his class, I like his tactical speed, and I like the form he's in, so I'm going with Bridgetown.
All right, let's talk about one of my favorite races on the card. It is the Dirt Mile. We see a lot of good horses in this race as well.
You're right, John. I think it's a 2-horse race. Everybody's talking about the Fed Biz or whatever. I'm not really into any of the 3-year-olds in this race. I think it's between MC and Shackelford. MC's probably your early favorite in the race. I know the connections are ultra confident,
right,
but I still can't get past the fact, John, that I think he's more of a one-turn type horse. I know he's by Unbridled Song, and I think he has the tactical speed to carve out a good trip in here, but for me, a fighter like Shackelford going a 2-turn mile, I like Shackelford to turn back MC in the stretch. I think he's the horse to beat.
MC was going to run in the sprint as well, so they are kind of stretching him out for the first time.
Yeah, and they're very confident in this race. I actually thought he's better fit for the sprint, John, but I think 7 furlongs or maybe a 1-turn mile is his type distance. I think Shackelford's better around 2 turns.
All right, let's go now to the Breeders' Cup Turf. Joel, we see some really good Europeans come over, but North America has some good horses in here as well.
They really do, John. Point of entry and certainly Little Mike with that tactical speed. If Turbo Compressor doesn't wear him out early, I think Turbo Compressor tried to rate last time. I don't think they're going to do that this time. I think they're going to go with Turbo Compressor. Little Mike is a horse that's in form, and he could take them a long way, but I love the defending champion, St. Nicholas Abbey. If you look at his form, his time form ratings, his form is as good by the ratings, as he was last year coming into this race. He loves the left-handed courses. He's going to get the Lasix again. I just think that he's going to be the horse to beat. He blew the doors off this field last year.
All right, let's talk about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Joel, this is a division that really does have championship honors up for grabs. Who do you think wins the race and is 2-year-old champion?
Shanghai Bobby is very interesting. We've talked about him at length, and he should get the 1 1/16 distance, but there's a horse coming off of Lasix, shipping across coast. He's going to take a lot of action in here, and he really doesn't have that female pedigree that suggests he's going to want to handle 2 turns and be that type of horse, going forward in his career. So with that said, I've got to go against him at a short price in here. Fortify for me is a horse that he's beat handily twice, but Fortify is out of a rich Phipps female family, stamina through and through. He's a son of distorted humor, and he's never had Lasix, so he doesn't have to try that angle. I like Fortify.
All right, let's go now to the Breeders' Cup Mile. Joel, this race every year grabs headlines. We see Wise Dan in here. Do you think he gets it done?
I do, and I think, over that speed-type turf course, his tactical speed is what's going to help him, John. This race is a race that you really need to avoid traffic trouble in, and it's loaded with closers. Obviously he's going to be your definite pace in here, but other than obviously, there's really not a lot of speed horses in the race.
Right.
Wise Dan has that tactical speed to get good early position, track obviously, take him whenever he wants to take him, and then he's got to be looking over his shoulder for acceleration and the closers. And I do think some of these closers, even some long shots like Mr. Commons, are going to run big, but I think the tactical speed of Wise Dan gets it done.
So the draw doesn't worry you at all?
Doesn't worry me at all because he has the speed to get his own trip.
All right, let's move now, Joel, to the Breeders' Cup Classic. This is the race of the weekend, really. And we see some good horses in here. I mean, we went into it feeling a little bit disappointed about the Classic, but we do see some horses that are running in great form right now.
This is a great field, John. I mean, really, there's no standout in my mind. Game On Dude, many people might say he's a stand-up, but let's face it, Game On Do was never a top-class 3-year-old, John. He was never top-class last year at 4. He was kind of a surprise runner-up, in my opinion, in the Classic last year. But he's on his home track this year, and I think he's as good as ever at 5. I like this prep coming in, and to me, he's going to be forwardly placed, and he's a fighter. I'm not so sure a 1.25 miles is his best distance, but over this track, with that tactical speed and a questionable pace scenario with a ton of closers, I like Game On Dude. I do think Mucho Macho Man is going to be dangerous in the stretch.
Joel, before I let you go, you have to answer the WinStar Stablemates question of the week. It comes from Jeanette, and she wants to know, of all these Breeders' Cup races in 2012, which one do you think will be the most memorable?
Most memorable. Wow, it's a great question, Jeanette. That's kind of a question I'd like to answer in hindsight. But for me, the one I'm most anticipating watching, we all like the stretch drive, John.
Right.
And I tell you what, when My Miss Aurelia turns for home, undefeated champion, Awesome Feather, undefeated champion, you got Royal Delta uncoiling her late run from the back of the pack, Questing, a brilliant filly leading them into the stretch, Love and Pride, APN, multiple Grade 1 winner. What a myriad of possibilities in that race. So for me, it's the stretch run, that Ladies Classic, that I most anticipate.
All right, Joel, that's a great answer. I really think you've done a great job keeping up with these horses week in, week out. We've been doing this since January. It's going to be an exciting weekend.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. But for 15 championship-style races, John, Eclipse Championship honors in the balance, it's going to be a heck of a weekend in California.
All right, thank you, Joel, and thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We're going to recap these races and tell you who we think will take championship honors.
Betting the year's biggest races is easy and fun at TwinSpires.com. You can play from home, online, or by phone. There's even a $100 sign-up bonus. So bet the Breeders' Cup at TwinSpires.com, where players win.